If your students are struggling to write in science or have a lot of anxiety around writing, you're not alone. But writing in science really does not have to be overwhelming for you or your students. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jessica. I am the founder of Lit Science, where I support science teachers in making grade level science content accessible to their diverse learners, including English learners or multilingual learners, students with special needs, and developing readers and writers. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through some writing prompts that I created around keystone species and really showing you how you can use prompts like these to engage all students in writing. All of these writing prompts are differentiated and scaffolded so that they are accessible to your diverse learners. Okay, so if you purchase this resource and download it, you are going to get a zip file, and in that zip file you'll have the PDF, which I'm showing you here, which is the student-facing, with the exception of the table of contents that are here. And then you will get a teacher's guide, which is mentioned here, that has your access to the Google slide deck so that you could assign it in Google Classroom if you want students to complete the prompts digitally, and an answer key and a lesson plan. So that would be in your zip file and your other part of what you downloaded. So I want to walk you through what you will get in this resource. As I'm walking you through, I'm going to talk you through a little bit about the different prompts and how they are scaffolded and differentiated. Now, if you do not buy this resource, but you're interested in creating your own prompts, these same kind of rules apply as far as what you could potentially do to create prompts that get your students engaged and writing in science. So you'll see here on the table of contents, these are just the titles of the prompts. Those are titles that I just came up with. And you'll see 2 pages because there's 2 versions of each prompt, which I will go over with you in a moment. So these first 2 prompts, important organisms and animal influencers, are to activate prior knowledge. And what I mean by that, it's just getting students writing about what they know, not using the vocabulary of keystone species yet, not necessarily really using any of the vocabulary taught in class, but just coming in to activate prior knowledge. The reason why prompts like this are important is because students have a lot of information they do know, and they're coming in with knowledge. Sometimes when we jump into writing or speaking or learning about the new content with the new vocabulary, that could be very overwhelming to students. Rather, starting with activating prior knowledge is really helpful because students can then attach back their new learning to what they already know. So this is giving them a space to do that. Spider Friends and Keystone Disappearance. Here at Lit Science, we are all about creative writing in science. So these would be used after students have learned about keystone species and they're continuing to learn through using these prompts, but they're showing their learning in a creative way. So I'll show you an example of one of those. And then the keystone profile and the keystone species data are more of your formative assessment type of things where students are showing what they learned in maybe a little bit more of a traditional sense than they did in those creative prompts. And the keystone species data specifically is supporting students in writing about a graph. Okay, again, you would access, if you bought this resource, you would access the Google Slides version, which is student facing, but also your answer key and your full lesson plan with instructional suggestions right there in that zip file. Okay, so when you get this PDF, this is just the view of this PDF right now, but these will be single individual spaces. They're not all on the same paper or page. So when you go to print it for students, each one will come out as a single. So as you can see, the one on the left here it doesn't have scaffolds here, and then the one on the right does. So here students are just being asked to think about a living thing that helps to keep its environment in balance. What do you think would happen if that animal disappeared? And for the more scaffolded version, students have the word bank and they have sentence starters to get them going. Okay, I want to go to one of the creative prompts. So this creative prompt here is asking students to imagine a spider giving a speech about being a keystone species. So again, a way for students to really show their learning, but in a very creative, different type of way. If a student can write this, this is really showing that they have internalized and really understand this concept of keystone species. Again, word bank and sentence frames here. Another prompt, and then these were more when I'm talking about the more formative assessment. So something about this data table that I want to point out to you is that the scaffolds here actually break down for students a lot of what they don't always get to do when they're practicing for a test or on a standardized exam, where they're being guided to actually just observe the graph first and just write about the pieces of the graph that are there. Then they are being asked to analyze that graph. So you'll see that built in here. Again, students who do not need as much support, it's here. So I'm going to go back just to talk to you for a second about this. Now, you could go ahead and create these on your own if you are short on time and say, hey, I would like something pre-made and ready to go. These are available for sale, and I will link that in the video description. So something I want to mention about scaffolding. So scaffolding really is for students who need it, and does it create this more formulaic type of writing? Yes, it can limit students. I would not suggest constantly giving scaffolds for students who do not need it, right? Just because a student is an English learner or a multilingual learner or a student with special needs doesn't mean they need these scaffolds. And what I've watched students do is I watch them kind of toggle between using the scaffold and then saying, I want something different. I want to add something different, and then adding their own. So for some students, you may give either the one on the left or the one on the right. For many students, you may give both so that they can take a little from the scaffolded version and then flesh out their own, especially for those creative prompts, because we really want to encourage creativity for students. So there you have it. If you are going to go ahead and create writing prompts for your diverse learners, just keep the following from the video in mind. One, we want to allow students and give students space to show what they know through those types of prompts that activate prior knowledge, and don't ask them to use vocabulary yet or content that was taught yet. Two, we want to encourage students to creatively express their new learning, so giving them creative prompts to do so. And three, we want to chunk out that content and language learning through scaffolding that could be in the form of chunking, sentence frames, sentence starters for students who need the support, and allowing students to go back and forth between those two versions as needed. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.